Hey, it's Brain Muffin at the movies. And I saw this article posted the other day in a group on Facebook. And I just I reacted to the title. I have not read this article, even though we're fixing to read it. So this has come from CBR.com. Captain Marvel is the most important MCU film since Iron Man. Now, my immediate reaction to that title was that it's actually true, but not in the way that most of the haters are going to spin it. Because really, the SJW and all that other nonsense aside that Marvel seems to be headed toward, let's just forget that for the moment, because we do know that certain actors have even stated that post Endgame, they're done. Chris Evans is going to be Captain America. Most likely Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be Iron Man. It's very up in the arms if Chris Hemsworth is even going to be Thor. So let's say that those three are gone. They're the main three. The Guardians can't quite hold that weight, and Ant-Man surely can't. When you look at the standalone movies and that Hulk. So if those three are gone, how does the MCU continue? Now, all your feelings about Brie Larson aside, from that standpoint, that's my reaction, that this actually is very true. Because if the MCU is going to continue, or at least continue to anywhere near the scale that it is now, it has to have several characters. And this is the first test of, because I highly doubt we're going to see anybody else in this movie except Captain Marvel. It's not just her. It's not just Brie Larson here. But, Black Panther kind of was in the scope of the current regime. Did very well. Ant-Man, they did 2 movies, but they're really setting up the side thing that's going to be in Endgame. This is how they're going to beat Thanos, is through wherever Ant-Man is, I forget where he is. But, because I didn't see those movies because they're stupid. But this really is. So let's see if the article author is anywhere close to what I'm talking about, or we're just going down some political nonsense. All right? Because I don't know. So the Marvel Universe is the biggest crossroads since its launch. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is at its biggest crossroads since its launch with the original Iron Man 11 years ago. April's Avengers Endgame has repeatedly been promised as the culmination of the story told across the preceding 21 films. That's a long time. But the film that actually stands as the most likely to set the tone for the brave new MCU going forward is, after post-Endgame, coming up over a month before Endgame. Expectations are riding high. I don't know, really. I don't think they are riding high. Brie has already talked crap to the audience. And so if they go down anywhere close to the Disney rat hole, as they've done with Star Wars, it's going to be bad. Significantly more than the usual financial obligations involved with mainstreaming the success and visibility of the MCU cinematic brand. That's the MCU brand overall. For a logistical standpoint, the MCU is going to need a new flagship superhero after Endgame. Absolutely, especially if Robert Downey Jr. is done and there's no one. There's no one in the wings, right? We haven't had somebody there. Maybe, but not to the character and charisma of Robert Downey Jr. Most of the original Phase 1 actors' contracts come to an end with the 4th Avengers film, with several actors being publicly expressing their plans not to reprise their roles or aging out of their cinematic superhero careers. While the MCU's post-Phase 3 will feature plenty of familiar faces, at least initially, its flagship heroes in Iron Man and Captain America are likely moving on. Yeah, and, we know that, obviously Tom Holland's going to do 2 more movies as Spider-Man, so we know he survives Endgame somehow. With Sony. So, that'll carry on, but, they'll probably move away from the MCU after this. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is actively being positioned to become the biggest superhero coming out of her debut origin film, and is largely implied to be pivotal in defeating Thanos and undoing the tragic ends of Infinity War. So, which we got in the post-credit scenes. It's no grand coincidence that her debut will be the MCU film immediately leading into Endgame. We'll probably get some foundational work. I wouldn't be surprised to see Doctor Strange in there very momentarily. If they laid the seeds of Thanos' destruction in this movie, which they should do, it may be a sidebar thing, but they could lay a couple seeds that kind of, titillate the viewers into Endgame. That would be interesting to see. While Black Panther and Doctor Strange will both continue to be important franchise, I don't really see Doctor Strange. I don't see either of those actually continuing for very long. Both characters met their temporary demise in Infinity War, with Carol Danvers now presumably leading the charge to resurrect them. This will eventually inform the MCU beyond. Yeah. So, inevitably inform the MCU beyond Avengers. What? Inform? Inevitably. I don't know what word. I don't know what they're getting at. Described by Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige as the new face and leader of the Marvel. They're going to have to get her to emote something. I'm not one of the pro smile crowd. She just seems to have the same expression always, and that's more Brie Larson. This is slated to become a much more diverse place after Phase 3. That's a bad sign. It's not like it's not diverse now, okay? You've got white guys, you've got black guys, you've got women, you've got... I don't know if anybody's gay, at least not openly. While Feige, although there's very actual little romance between most of them, anyways, remained largely tight-lipped about the post-Endgame MCU. Has revealed that the studio is actively building a cinematic universe where over half of its superheroes will be women. Over half, okay? I do not believe that over half of the readership of the comic books are women. A solo Black Widow film is reportedly in development. We don't need it. As is internal film that features, I think this is in many ways a stretch of, we were originally going to end here, but it's too popular. It's too much of a moneymaker, and Disney's saying we have to continue this. Disney owns them now. They didn't when they started. So this smells like Disney fingers. This is what screwed up Star Wars, and it looks like they're headed to mess up the MCU as well. Most viable superhero in this new direction studio. So Carol Danvers, this is a superhero that's been around for quite a while. She's been through several iterations. She's been Miss Marvel. She was something else too. But on the comic book side, they cannot sell her. They cannot. I don't really follow these around, but my understanding is the most successful lines are where she's pretty scantily clad. But a lot of that's just clickbait, get people to buy it, but the story isn't there. Fortunately, this is a page 2. Fortunately for all parties involved, the upcoming film is projected to be another strong success for Marvel Studios. Advanced ticket sales for Captain America have already eclipsed Captain America Civil War and on track to outperform pre-sales. Yeah, I don't really buy into that. At this pace, the movie stands to be among the biggest debuts for any new property. We'll see. Which opened last year to over, yeah. It ended up that it didn't do that the opening weekend, and it had high ticket prices. I still haven't seen Black Panther. I'm just not interested. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is about to enter a new stage without the support of key original cast members who helped propel to worldwide commercial and critical success. Playing Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange will be around to help pick up Spider-Man. I cannot buy Tom Holland as Spider-Man. And the Hulk, we'll see. The Hulk is one of those, it's a popular character, but they can't seem to make a good solo movie. But a standalone or whatever. But it says Captain Marvel who set the tone. Yeah, see, in the comic book world, she's not the big lead, so that's part of the problem. There's another. She's been in I think Diamond Skin or something as Frost. Emma Frost, I think, is another. She's not really a superhero. She's kind of in between. Already facing a world of expectations and inevitable comparisons to the DC Wonder Woman, which was actually an okay film. If the other movies had been better in the DCEU, Wonder Woman would not have done as well as it did. It's just that the other movies were so bad. Aquaman, however, is apparently really good. I haven't yet to see it. I do want to see it soon, though. In a way, Captain Marvel also sets expectations for Avengers Endgame itself, the last MCU film to be released before the resolution to the story started by Kay. Will be an upcoming ensemble film with how she comes in her solo debut. Informing nuances will approach the follow-up the movie a month after, with the catastrophic bar set by the MCU as the gold standard in super. I cannot read today. With the stratospheric bar as gold standard superhero films and the upcoming mass changing of the guard cast-wise, it's up to the newest MCU hero to soar above the extraordinarily elevated expectations. I think this is a lot of garbage. I really don't know a lot of people that are expecting a lot from this film. We already have gotten Brie Larson talking smack to the fans, and that's not a good sign. And we have the word diverse in here when we really don't need it. We already have diversity. It's not like it's going to get more. I mean, really, I think it's just maybe the next is transgendered and openly gay, I guess. But we've got, forget it. We've, directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck with a script they wrote with Liz. A bunch of names. Blah, blah, blah. This is just who's in it. The film arrives March 8th. So they started on the path that I agree with, and then they kind of swerved into diversity nonsense, which Disney can't help themselves anymore. But it is true. It is true that post MCU, post the Iron Man and Captain America and all that, this film is going to set the tone. And I think it's going to fail. And I think what we're going to get are smaller movies, like Ant-Man or smaller. This is why the expectations I don't think are high. This, adjusted for inflation, this movie has the lowest budget of any MCU film, including the original Iron Man. Both Ant-Man films, the first two Iron Mans, Thor, all of them have higher budgets when adjusted for inflation than Captain Marvel. So considering how much inflation we've had over the last 11 years, and it's almost in real dollars. I think there's only one or two. I found the article. I don't know if quite a while ago I came across the article that had all the numbers and had it real and adjusted for inflation. On real, it's very low. It's like under 100 million budget. And so adjusted for inflation is like, it is dead last. So that tells me they're really hoping, but not putting all their eggs in one basket. What I think is going to happen is there might be some crossover, but unless they're unbelievably successful, Endgame will be the last one. And you'll have these other characters pop up in between movies and things, but we'll kind of go back to single releases, and then this will slowly fade out, and then Marvel will be done for a while. I don't see it succeeding. There is no hype for this movie, despite what this article wants to say. Looks like there are 8 comments. Let's see, as ongoing commentary about it's getting old. I don't remember how much chatter about buying tickets. Would people stop buying tickets, buying young girl tickets for this movie? Stop talking about how courageous she is and stop. Okay. No, it's not. Okay, nice joke. The movie is only important to self-proclaimed social activists. That's true, but with nothing better to, again, just make it a good script. I don't really care that she's a woman. Just make it a good movie. What about Infinity War and the Guardians? I think you'll see a third Guardians movie. I wish news outlets would stop writing pieces like this. It's just too much pressure to be felt. It's not. It's important since that the first solo female, and there's also unspoken obligation that it must not fail because of this kind of play. Okay. So I think some of these people get it more than the author. More important than Black Panther, sure you jest. Although I'm not sure your goal is to piss people off. But we had black superhero movies before. Everybody forgets Blade back in the 90s. We've been here before. We've had Wonder Woman. We had Wonder Woman in the 70s. And we've had other movies. Had Supergirl that was, I think Supergirl could have been a lot better. It was a bit, even for its time, it was cheesy. But on the CW, the show's doing pretty well. I think it's important in seeing the direction of the post-Endgame MCU, whether we're going to have an MCU or just, maybe 2 or 3 at most movies a year that are all more or less standalone. What I see is we'll get a Spider-Man every other year until Sony has lost enough money on them. And then we'll get some Batman films. We'll get a Superman or 2. We'll get, I know that's DC. Probably get another Incredible Hulk movie. We'll get another Doctor Strange, maybe another Guardians, and maybe a third Ant-Man movie. But they're going to move away from the big ensemble. Plus, they're getting too expensive. That's my take. And based on what I've seen in the trailer and the fact that Marvel is putting so little money into this compared to everything else, including the Ant-Man movies, they're not really expecting it to do anything. So the expectations are extremely low just based on budget and timing and everything else besides what Sam Stone is saying. So what do you think? You think this is going to be awesome and the MCU is going to go on another 12 years, or do you think this is pretty much the end of the ride? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for subscribing, and see ya. Was the game the same? I know I need a breath shield, but too cheap to buy one. Yeah, I know. It's out of proportion, but that's okay. It'll still work. This is are we loud? Okay, that's why. All right. So I'm turning mine up. Okay, that sounds good. All right, good. Let's get going. This whiskey is awesome, by the way. I didn't know Jack Daniels could be that good. Wow. I know. I'm probably going to talk about it too much. Okay, 3, 2, 1.